left Christianity and fundamentalist churches and religion, I noticed how Christians believe that you can't do anything moral or long-lasting of importance unless you're a Christian. You look over the different Bible verses that Christians quote, and anyone who doesn't have God or Jesus, their behavior is basically like filthy rags, nothing good enough. And yet, the people who are most giving, loving, kind, and consistently moral are people who don't believe in the Christian God. They can be Muslims, Hindus, atheists, agnostics, Wiccans. The people who are most God-like are people who don't believe in the Christian God. Why is that? Why are people more likely to be helpful, kind, loving when there isn't a God than when there is one? Because people are less likely to enjoy doing something with frequent consistency if God is standing over you with the inclination to punish you if you don't do what you're supposed to do. And we've talked recently about if you have to have a God to make you moral and make your actions worth something, you're not a good person. Christian morality is a fallacy. It doesn't exist. If you need a God to keep you from assaulting, killing, maiming, stealing, robbing, you're not a good person. And that's the whole point. Christians don't believe that any good done by anyone outside of their religion, it's a complete waste of time. That it has no eternal value. In my opinion, that's one of the best things about being an atheist. There is no eternity. The only thing that exists is what you can see with your own hands and what you can touch with your body. There is no afterlife. There is nothing beyond this life. And it's not depressing. It means you have a duty to make this life better for everyone, even people you don't agree with. Everyone has a right to live their life without hurting anyone, pursuing their hopes, their dreams. That's what being alive is really about. And one of the biggest reasons why Christians don't seem to consistently make this life better is because they don't have to. They're waiting for the next one. It's kind of like a dinner where you know that there's 50 more sides coming to your table. Of course you're not going to make use or eat as much as you can from what's ever in front of you right now, because you're waiting and saving your appetite for the better entrees. You don't make use of what's right in front of you to the extent you would if that was the only spread you were getting. That's how Christians live their lives. Instead of fixing, owning, and enjoying the life right now, they don't make consistent changes here. Because this is not their home. This is not their future. I think it's so sad that people miss out on happy moments. They miss out on a wonderful future because they are obsessed with the next life. This is why cults can get people to do whatever they want. Why they were able to convince people to wear Nike tennis shoes, drink the Kool-Aid, hide in a bunker in Waco. Because cults and religion convince people that they've changed a light bulb and that they're sitting in beautiful light, when in actual reality, they've taken out the light bulb, you're sitting in the dark, and they've convinced you that something else is happening entirely. Religions and cults are very similar. And I asked somebody who's a world expert on deprogramming cult and religious members. He told me that all religions use cult-like behavior, programming. Christianity emotionally primes people through its music and through its own language. It makes you expect certain things. It makes you less likely to not walk away because they have what they do down to a science. Why does MAGA still believe, after the evidence of what Trump has done in the last 11 months now? Because it's a cult. They have them believing anything. And when you believe that any good behavior, any moral things done, don't mean anything unless you're part of a very specific group, it's called dehumanization. And when the group that you do acknowledge does good things, Christians, but they don't consistently help people, they use people's suffering and vulnerability as the perfect time in which to prey on people, the P-R-E-Y. You have a long-term conspiracy. You don't need a God to do good things. You don't need a God to have morality. And what's really terrifying is, if you need those things, you're a dangerous, not good person. I don't need anything to keep me from doing something bad. But I'm still glad we have laws, because not everybody has critical thinking or empathy for its fellow man. But I don't need a God to keep me from doing bad things. I don't need a God to force me to care about other people. I don't need a God to force me to treat everyone with respect. And I believed for 30 years that unless you were a certain kind of Christian, anything you did outside of that religion meant nothing. The morality did not exist. And anything good that anyone non-Christian did meant nothing. If you actually believe that good behavior means nothing if you're not a specific kind of religious person, it's a horrifying place to live. You aren't a good person because you're a Christian. You're not a good person because you believe in God. And honestly, if you believe in a God and serve and worship a God that committed infanticide, genocide, rape, murder, sexism, if you believe in a God like that, you are as far from morality as humanly possible. You can justify whatever you want to justify, but at the end of the day, the only person who has morality that can actually stand the test of time is not morality that comes from a vengeful, sadistic God who kills kids to make a point. I mean, the whole story of Job tells us exactly what kind of God really is. And luckily for me, God doesn't exist. Can you imagine how horrifying it would be if that kind of God existed? Morality exists, whether or not your religion says it does. Everybody deserves to have a better tomorrow. And if you don't believe that, you're part of the problem. And if you need a God to tell you to get off your butt and help the homeless and protect people from ICE, you're a bad person. Because I do it without having a God. What's stopping you?